Nice. Yeah. Hope everyone's excited that 2020 is about to wrap up.
Yes.
Yep. Yes, everybody.
but though it's not like a survival mission, where you play the game until the clock runs out. We still have things that will happen after this. So
I'm trying to be hopeful here, Aaron, optimistic for the new year kind of thing.
It's almost 5 p.m. Singapore time. And one of the things we want to do really well is to start events on time, finish on time. So thank you so much, everyone, for joining in. This is our last session for day one of the CoRise SEA Summit. This particular session, we have awesome founders from Malaysia who are joining us to share their stories, experiences with us. I'm Jatin. I'm one of the co-founder of eChai Network. We host engaging startup networking meetups in 15 countries, 25 cities in 15 countries. Earlier, we used to host a lot of physical meetups. Now everything has moved online. And since we moved online, we could, invite more good speakers and create more engaging content. So this is a good upside of this pandemic for us. And this program we organize in association with Vadhwani Foundation. Chris is with us and Jays are in a way representing Vadhwani Foundation. And we have Cheryl from TIP Nitro. So Chris or Jays, if you want to introduce Vadhwani Foundation and TIP Nitro.
Yes, good afternoon, guys. I'm Chris Delgado. I'm the Senior Program Manager of Wadhwani Foundation. I lead the program and initiatives at Wadhwani in the Philippines and also support the initiatives in Indonesia and Malaysia. And also recently I was traveled also in Malaysia this past few months. We are present in almost 24 countries across the globe, covering Asia, Latin America, and Africa. The core mission of Wadhwani Foundation is really job creation through entrepreneurship, innovation, and skilling. We were founded by Dr. Ramesh Wadhwani. He's a serial entrepreneur in Silicon Valley. He's an Indian but non-American citizen, and I think he's like the richest Indian American right now in the US. It is conglomerate in Silicon Valley, and we are really very, very happy and appreciative of the fact that we're partnering with eChai through Jatin and of course the IP Nitro, and we're trying to influence. I think all of us dream that the startup ecosystem would flourish and more people would really move towards the creation of ventures. And I think this is the kind of opportunity where we can collaborate. As Aaron was saying, let's stop up 2020 with a good high note and hope and pray that we can do
2021.
Yes, we can do more collaboration in 2021. And this is a good start for all of us.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Jays and Cheryl, who will intro the TIP Nitro.
Okay, hello everyone. I'm Cheryl Arenas, the project lead of the Technological Institute of the Philippines, Nurture Innovation Technology Revolution Office, or in short, we call ourselves TIP Nitro. So it is a collaboration-friendly university technology business incubator funded by the Department of Science and Technology, DOST of the Philippines. So we promote and support innovation all the way to commercialization by providing a range of resources, services, and facilities during the development stage of a venture. We also organize speaker series like this. That's why we partnered with eChai and the Wadhwani Foundation and workshops to support budding entrepreneurs in our community. And we also offer mentorship, opportunity for networking and partnership to support not just our incubatees, but the whole TIP community. And we are sector agnostic. Our current incubatees are from the clean technology, in the clean technology, software as a service also, financial technology, and healthcare and furniture industry. So again, thank you to our panelists for joining us. And I hope that this event will foster more collaboration among us and within the region. Good afternoon.
Thank you so much, Cheryl. And we keep on repeating this thing, and these awesome events are possible because there are amazing participants and amazing speakers. And most important thing is all the speakers respond to our emails and accept the invite. So thank you so much, all of you, for accepting to be part of this panel. If this was a physical event, we would have clapped for everyone, but we will do it on screen. So it creates good energy. So we'll just get started. So basically the format will be each of the speakers will speak for 2-3 minutes about their background, what they do in their business. So it gets set the context and we'll have more questions. So we'll get started with YY. If you can tell us a little about your background and your business. Yes, YY.
Oh, why?
Yes. You'll have to unmute yourself and speak up. Yep.
Hi everyone. I'm Yen Yi. You can call me YY. I'm one of the co-founders of Avana. So Avana is a social commerce enabler platform. So what we do is help businesses and brand owners sell across social media channels. So think of it as e-commerce, but instead of selling on a website, you can sell on your Facebook page, sell on Messenger, which is very, very popular in the Philippines, sell on WhatsApp, Instagram, and more. So this connects you to your followers and fans to have a closer relationship and also have a shorter sales cycle. That's what we do.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Chen, if you can tell us a little more about you, about Fave Group.
Yeah, thanks a lot for having me. So I think myself, I'll just call me CC. So for Fave Group, we are a merchant digital platform. So what we do is basically we focus on the offline F&B and retail space and basically helping them to digitize. So think of it today, you own a small cafe. Basically, we are able to help them to facilitate payment through various methods, whether credit card terminals, credit card debit cards, e-wallets, maybe even loyalty points, and then do various bringing new customer, upsell, cross-sell, retentions, analytics, financing, operations, review ratings, etc. So basically, think of it is if you open a restaurants, cafe, how we can basically help you digitize end to end.
Brilliant. Thank you so much. Aaron, you've been a founder, you've been an enabler, and with Scale Up Malaysia, you've been doing a lot of interesting stuff. Little bit about you and your background.
Sure. Thanks for having me, Jatin. And I'm glad I responded to your email to be on the panel. And I'm also glad to be with friends who I've known for many years in the ecosystem. Many of them were, I guess, colleagues in cohorts as we were building our companies. And I had the fortune of being able to start a company, and we sold our business to AirAsia a couple of years ago. And it's a funny thing how these things work out. Towards like the middle part of last year, some people approached me and we started talking about how we could help the ecosystem. And I just sold the company, and we saw that there was a gap in the market in Malaysia. We thought there are a lot of great entrepreneurs, a lot of good guys who launch good products, but there's like a little bit of a missing link to help them get to that next stage of growth. And so we started thinking, what can we create like a growth stage accelerator? And so we got together, the 6 of us, entrepreneurs and veterans. I don't belong to the veteran category. I'm the youngest in the team, but the other veterans. And we felt that we could provide a program that could help entrepreneurs grow their business, scale their business, with a focus on building profitability, looking at gaps in their business plans or gaps in their team, helping them with their narratives and with their go-to-market as well. So Scale Malaysia is a program that we help for growth stage startups. We bring 20 companies into our cohort, every cohort. And out of the 20 companies, we select 10 companies at the end of the program that we choose to invest in. We've done one cohort earlier this year. We're currently in the middle of our second cohort. Actually, it'll end probably before Chinese New Year, end of January. And then we'll start our third cohort probably in May next year. So we're really excited to see the quality of the companies that are coming out of Malaysia. The future is very bright, and we hope that we'll play a small part in the story of these companies.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Aaron. Jess, if you can tell us a little more about you, about Youths Today.
Sure. Basically, YouthsToday.com is currently the largest youth community platform in Malaysia. We are a platform for youth to actually raise funds and sponsorship for their programs and projects. So we work closely with both the private and the public sectors, especially when it comes to youth development scene here in Malaysia. We are currently also serving more than 200,000 youth leaders at this point of time. And definitely we're also strong believers that youth empowerment as they're the future of our country.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And Linus?
You know, Jazz, when you say that, right, Whitney Houston's song is in my head.
Thanks, man.
Linus, if you can tell us a little more about you.
Yeah. Hi, guys. Thanks for having me here today. I am the CEO and co-founder of Droppy. So essentially what Droppy is, we are a B2B wholesale marketplace. We help mom and pop stores to be able to find the right suppliers and the right products for their retail stores. We've been around for 4 years now, and we are currently servicing more than 30,000 retailers across Southeast Asia. So excited to be here. Excited to join this awesome panel of speakers. And yeah, happy to share any insights of especially what we all have learned in 2020.
Yep. That is one of the key questions we will be asking. But in your early days, what were your early days like? And then you went into get selected in YC, one of the earliest startup from Malaysia to get there. So what was that journey of yours?
It was unexpected, and it was a bit of a whirlwind because my co-founder apparently applied for YC without me knowing. So it was I think 24 hours before our online interview, and he was like, "Oh yeah, by the way, could you block out 1 hour of your time tomorrow because we're gonna have the interview?" I was like, "What?" It's like, I didn't prepare. What is that? It's like, yeah, I read all these online articles. You shouldn't over prepare. We should just wing it, because the more authentic that we seem during the interview, the higher your chances of us entering it. So, my nerves were skyrocketing. I was like thinking that I'm underprepared, but yeah, we were lucky to get into YC, and the whole experience was a bit, I guess I was more excited to be and experience that whole demo day vibes where you go on stage, 1 minute pitch, and you get all these investors. You can talk to so many people, especially in the Silicon Valley. But because of the pandemic, our batch had to do demo day online, which was, it's there, but it's not there, if you get what I mean. And I think Aaron can share, right? Demo day online is like,
It's a wee bit different.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. So, like Chris as well, we, myself and my co-founder managed to get out of the US just right on time before the whole lockdown happened, and got back to Malaysia, quarantine ourselves, and then here we are, stuck here. Awesome. Until the end of 2020.
And Jez, you mentioned that Youth Today is one of the largest youth community. So, but when you started up, how did you get those initial people to trust your platform that they are part of this community? What were those early days of yours?
I think those early days definitely identify the problem that the youth are facing, because way back then, because I started this I've been doing this for the past almost 10 years already. So I started really young back then. And I realized that the peers of my community, when I was in college or university, a lot of students, when they run their projects, or even if they have an idea or something, they don't actually have a platform here in Malaysia. So usually, even if it's for the government here in Malaysia, that we only have the youth and sports minister, right? They're very heavily focused on sports. But when it comes to your ideas or your anything that you want to run for community projects, there's actually no platform for it. So I've identified the gap there, and during the early days, I've also asked the students what would they want in terms of support, what would they need. So I found that most students, they face problems when it comes to funding and also sponsorships. So that's where when we started building it, so we received a lot of response from the student leaders, especially from all around the colleges and universities. So that's how we actually grew it to what it is today.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And YY, you are in a way e-commerce enabler. So the earlier session, when we had the session for Indonesia and Philippines, one of the prominent theme was that e-commerce is going to be the next big thing in those regions. So what was the impact of pandemic in your business? And after 9 months of, where are you now?
I would say that the pandemic was good and bad. The good part was finally people don't see e-commerce as an option, it's a necessity. So the adoption was much, much higher, especially in the initial days of lockdown. In Malaysia and also for the rest of Southeast Asia, businesses that were primarily offline had zero foot traffic. You were not allowed to open for business, and they had no choice but to move their business online. So we had very high adoption rates. However, the challenge then became supply chain issues. whether do you get your supplies on time, especially if they were coming from overseas. There were a lot of issues there. And also, this is a good problem to have. The demand of online purchase became so high that the courier companies actually were facing a lot of backlogs. It actually went viral in Malaysia, where courier companies, the parcels were overflowing outside of their offices, and like people were just working like non-stop to deliver the parcels. All in all, I would say in the countries that we operate in, the demand has increased. We've also moved our training and consultation online to help merchants. And we've actually seen a lot of success stories. A lot of first-time online merchants have successes, and the existing ones will manage to pivot their business to survive in this pandemic.
Awesome. And Chain, I'll mention you at CC because you had mentioned. So there is a wave about people adapting to digital services, social media, and the second wave comes and they will do transactions online. So what were your key learnings of building a fintech business from Malaysia and probably now Southeast Asia?
Yeah. So I think for us, maybe a bit of history, right? So in 2015, we are a fitness platform, right? So we run KFit. 2016, we went into a deals platform. We acquired Groupon subsidiaries in Southeast Asia. So after the acquisition and integration rebranding in mid of 2017, we were still a deals company, except that instead of the Groupon color now became a pink color. And then that's when we decided that we build on extension. So from a deals business in 2017, we went on into a loyalty business. So that's where FaithPay is. And I think fast forward over the last 3 years, we basically built on a couple of services. And I think right now we basically also add on a Faith Enterprise Services, where basically we help conglomerate MNCs, big platforms to build digital solutions, right, for them to serve the offline businesses. So I think that let's say even for this pandemic, I think there are pros and cons as we look into this. So I think for us, we serve the offline businesses, right? So we decided that the online space, there are a lot of players in it. We are too late to go in. We decided not to. And also I think during COVID, we don't want to dish the merchants that we have been working with, right? So we stick with them. So work with them through the period. So I think our business over the last 9 months has been basically moving up and down based on the government restrictions, right? So that's the number one predictor. Actually, the number two predictor is the COVID cases for that day. So every day, let's say in Malaysia at 6 p.m., the Health Director General announced the number. If the number goes up, I know my sales will go down tonight for the dinner time, right? So, and vice versa, right? So I think it's a lot of that. And I think that this year, I think one thing that it has trained all of us is be adaptable. I think from the business standpoint, I think people are adapting. So I think with the rules has been changing nonstop for the last 9 months, right? You can do this, now you cannot do that and whatnot. So I think the adaptability and I think the digitalization need is there. I think today people don't dare to touch cash, so it's cashless. Businesses that back then who were doing very well, they say, I never need digital or technology. Today they are going on it. So I think merchant side is clear. I think right now as consumer side, there's two headwinds that we need to go and handle. I think one is purchasing power, because a lot of people are still having a pay cut or losing their jobs and whatnot. So I think that's one headwind. And the second headwind will be the social distancing, which is needed until I think at least another 1, 2, 3 more quarters, right? So I think that would be the two headwinds. But then the long-term trend, I think, will be positive. Let's say Singapore, where the country handled COVID very well, we see that the stations are much, much better than pre-COVID. Whereas Malaysia, Indonesia, I think we are looking forward to how the COVID be handled here.
And Aaron, there is a lot of talk about it for an ecosystem, startup ecosystem to grow, there has to be successful exit. You experienced that, and another trend that people talk about, the local industry leaders should contribute for the startup ecosystem. With Scale Up Malaysia, you are playing that role also. So about the startup exit, what was the thought process of yours? That sometimes as a startup, you feel very attached to your idea and you would want to give it away. So what was your thought process at that point in time, and what happened next?
So I think a lot of people think that when, at least in our case, it wasn't a case where there was a moment in time where suddenly, the opportunity came in front of us and, okay, here's the offer, like in the movies, It's not like in the movies at all. And a lot of the ways these things happen is it's slow, it's a long conversation, it's a process. A lot of this has to do with building relationships. And in our case, we started a relationship with AirAsia through a commercial agreement. That later came into a discussion about, maybe we'd like you guys to run one of our divisions or one of our businesses. which then came into a conversation. Maybe we can buy into your company like at 50%. And so they bought into 50% of the company at first. And then a couple of years later, when we wanted to kind of rejig the overall AirAsia digital play into AirAsia.com, that's when we started talking about maybe we should just buy the whole thing and be done with it. And right now, the company that runs AirAsia.com is my old company. So it's really weird. I still get calls from strange people, even though I'm no longer on the cap table. But it's kind of fun. So it's one of those things that we never planned for. But I think as an entrepreneur, the first thing you look at is obviously your options, right? And I think if you have, if you see that this is something that's worthwhile for you and that is really a great opportunity, in our case, we thought that was really something we really wanted to do. So we went for it. I think by and large, it was a good decision. I think the market has shown that I think it's been a great opportunity for us, our team, as well as our shareholders also got a return. So I think all in all, I think we're quite happy with the outcome. Yeah.
Awesome. And one of the key angle of this discussion is that there are a lot of founders not based in Malaysia, but they would want to expand their business in Malaysia or Southeast Asia. So what would be the top 2-3 points that you would want to recommend other founders who would want to scale their business in Malaysia?
So I think, first of all, I think anybody who wants to come to Malaysia needs to realize that we are a great place for startups. We've got some really good talent here. We've got great people here. Communication is easy, especially in the big cities. Most people speak English. If you don't speak the local language, you can still get by. We also have a melting pot of cultures. So, we've got people here as you can see on this panel, right? We all have different descents. My ancestors came from India. A lot of those in the panel here came from China. We've also got people who are here for hundreds of years or thousands of years before we got here. So we're kind of a melting pot, and we've got a large immigrant community as well here. So if you want to have a taste of what Southeast Asia is like, I think Malaysia is a great place. It's like a good Southeast Asia tasting platter. That's what I think Malaysia can be.
So Aaron mentioned,
yeah.
Good points. The other panelists need not repeat those, which are the other. So every time it gets tougher. So CC, what are the top 2 points according to you for the founders who would want to scale their business in Malaysia?
Yeah, so I think in addition to what Aaron says about, I think Malaysia is a low cost, right? I think relative. I think good quality talent and I think most value for money. Let's say, for example, for business, I think for Malaysia, I think basically enable a good ROI of structure. You basically have pretty much the quality of Singapore, but at the price point of the 1/3 of Singapore, right? So I think that would be one. I think multilingual, that what Aaron talked about. I think that would be one aspect. And I think the other one is that Malaysia, if you look at our major cities, it's like Kuala Lumpur is like Singapore, right? Or Penang, right? It's an island state. It's a very modern and everything. But Malaysia also have a lot of rural areas, the tier 2, tier 3s, rural areas. That could be a good test bed for you before you go launch in other parts of Southeast Asia. So that is a good, decent training ground as well that is to go across. And I think that would, maybe I'll leave it to the rest to add on.
Yes, just the points are covered by Aaron and Jen. Apart from them,
I didn't know this how it's going to work because I would have talked more and made it more difficult for everybody.
You will come up with an article and top 10 reasons you should scale in Malaysia. Jess.
The beach is like a couple of minutes, like less than an hour drive away. If you like the beach, we have pretty good weather. We have great food. I mean, at the end of the day, on business wise, I think go where you can value at most, right? Your product and your service is very unique. Really understand the market well, do your market research. Before you launch in a country, always do testings, like beta tests and whatnot. Don't waste your time if you know that you're expanding to a country that just you don't suit, or your product or service doesn't suit it well. So, yeah.
Okay, awesome. Jess, your points for this?
And I should have answered first. I think everybody almost covered everything already. But yeah, I think especially Malaysians, we are all very welcoming people. So yeah, we're all very, it's a very business friendly environment, I would say. Yeah, so if you, if you were to start up here, especially the government also is pushing a lot on the startup scene. That's why you see we have basically Aaron here also, right? Yeah, so there's a lot of support also in the system. So I think this is definitely one of the few reasons which I think, other countries, if they want to start up here, it's definitely a perfect place to begin with, especially in Southeast Asia. Yeah.
Awesome. Why you have to come up with the newer points?
I echo what the rest say, but then again, having scale and expand to different countries in the region, and we've explored Asia Pacific, I find that it's relatively easy for foreign founders to come and start a business here. It's pretty straightforward. MDAC has been playing a big role. And also we have different communities and parties that people can tap into, like networks such as this. And also I think the startup scene in Malaysia is pretty, I wouldn't say very matured, but then we are there. There's enough of us to go around that you can kind of pick up brains, and we're more than happy to share, how you can get started in Malaysia.
Yep. And entrepreneurship is about making choices. So why in your journey, which was that most impactful decision, a choice you made that put you in a very different trajectory?
Well, I wasn't an entrepreneur from the beginning. I did join a startup. I worked in corporate before. I told myself when I graduated, I wanted to experience the two sides before I decided where I want to go. After experiencing the two sides, I decided I don't want to join anybody. I just want to do my own thing. So I partnered with my co-founder, and then we were like, if nobody's going to solve this problem, we're going to do something about it. And, there's a joke that we always joke, like, okay, I quit being an employee because I don't want to answer to a boss. But then when you're an entrepreneur, basically all your clients are your bosses. So you have even more bosses now.
Yes,
that's true.
Lenny, which was the most impactful choice you made in your entrepreneurial journey?
Quite similar to YY as well, right? I think I've also had my fair share of experience in working in corporate and also startups. At the end of the day, I think because I grew up in a family of entrepreneurs, we're a traditional businessman, and I tried to fight it, by the way. I did. I was once a musician. Amateur musician. I was gigging around town, I was making, a couple of gigs a week and whatnot. But at the end of the day, it's in my blood. I still go back to my roots. Yeah.
Okay. And
here, Lenny, just if I can jump in. Back in the day, I used to organize gigs. This is in the mid 2000s. This was like a business I had. So, who knows, man? Maybe, in the next life, you can start a little band.
Maybe you
play the bass. Yeah, there you go.
That's right. Yep.
Aaron, which was the most impactful decision you made?
I think, in my case, I feel like I started my entrepreneurial journey slightly later. And I'm not like a digitally native person. So I don't know how to code. I didn't know anything about technology. But I had an opportunity when in 2011 to be the country manager of a group buying platform, so very similar to Groupon, right? And before that, I had been, as I mentioned just now, I'd done other kinds of businesses. I was in more like retail businesses I was involved with. For a while, I was organizing gigs for bands, that kind of stuff. But when the opportunity came, I had a choice, right, to try something new. So I think like every entrepreneur requires a little bit of guts and a little bit of courage to get out there and do something that you've never done before. And then when I started Touristy, my previous company, it was a bit of a risk for me. I had a newborn kid, and I had a family to support, and I felt like my risk profile is not ideal to start a new technology-based business where like 92% of these businesses fail. So I do think that decision was a really important one to start, and I think it requires courage. And I think that's the mark of every entrepreneur is that you gotta take that leap of faith and hope for the best as to see where it goes.
Yep. And CC, the most impactful decision you made?
Yeah, I think for me, I was accidental, right, into the startups. Since I was working in Groupon, Joe was the other founder. He has been the entrepreneur for some time. So in early 2015, I told him I want to quit Groupon to get some offers. I got some offers from other corporate jobs, right? And I told him. Then basically he told me, why don't we start a company together? And that's how we started this journey. I think never thought how the startup journey would be. But I think the last almost 6 years has been through these ups and downs through. Yeah. So I think that's sort of unplanned, not a typical. So I think opposite to what Lenis is, I think I don't have my family's, no one is an entrepreneur. I think my parents still think that I should quit everything and just go get a proper job. My parents still don't think that I'm doing a real work. So it's not an ideal work for them, right? Yeah. So I think that's where I came from.
Brilliant. Jess?
Oh wow. I think I've a little bit different from everybody else on the panelists. I've never worked for anyone before. I started my company when I was 18 years old, all the way to today itself. So it has been a crazily long journey. I think if I were to go back, right, I would have went through what everybody else gone through, like at least, started in the corporate first before actually starting off a company, because I've made so many mistakes that I think if I would have just worked for somebody first before I start off my own company, I would have reduced a lot of all those errors. So yeah, it's a school of hard knocks for me in my case.
You answered what choice you didn't make, but what choice you made that changed the trajectory for you.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Wait. What was your question again? Can you just rephrase that? I got carried away with everybody else.
So in your entrepreneurial journey, what was that key choice you made that put you in a very different trajectory?
Oh, okay. I think the key decision that I've ever made was definitely just go on with this journey, to be honest. Like even all the crazy challenges I've actually gone through, right? I think the key is definitely not to give up. At many point of my running this, there's so many challenges that I want to give up. So yeah, I think that the really key turning point here is not to give up and really pursue it all to the end to see what it can become. Yeah.
Awesome. And one of the things we do at this panels is panelists ask questions to each other, so we get to know what perspectives they would want to know. So anyone want to take that up? Aaron, you want to ask a question to any one of them or all of them?
Whoa. Okay, let's talk 2020. Okay.
Yeah.
So this was a tough year for all of us.
Yep.
And one thing everybody was griping about in April was how the startup community is going to suffer. People are going to do really badly. Magic and Startup Genome had a report that came out that said 40% of startups will die because of COVID, right? Doc Siva, my partner, and I wrote an op-ed for Digital News Asia about some recommendations we have for the government and things that they could do. And we were all kind of panicky, right? But I noticed like most of the startups I know are still around. So my question to you guys is not the typical depressing one, but is this a testament to how good Malaysian startups are, or the companies are really that good? Or were we just all freaking out for no reason? Or is it just because the government came in and helped? What do you think is the real reason that we've seen a much better outcome than all of us feared 9 months ago?
It's a very good question.
Well, I don't know specifically about startups, but I can talk a little bit about the SMEs, right, and the new businesses. In fact, I just got the latest update figures from the Ministry of Entrepreneurial Development and Cooperatives, right, that this year in itself in Malaysia, approximately 30,000 companies had closed down, while some 280,000 has been newly registered this year in Malaysia. So I think at the end of the day, this whole pandemic is unprecedented because it's a double whammy, right? You not only get financially, like the economy is bad, but you also get this whole healthcare industry-wise is also affected. So it creates a lot more policies to restrict certain movements. And I think that really impacted. In regards to whether a lot of more startups struggle, I think because we were forewarned that such things gonna happen, and although there's a short time, right? Us Malaysians, and I also believe this is across Southeast Asia, we are a very community-centric people. So when that times happens, we would rally up together and we would try to figure out how to help amongst each other, whether there's government support or not. I think most of us will still figure out ways to pivot. And I think pivoting is key. I've had a lot of friends who were once in hospitality or tourism industry, right? They just immediately picked up and I pivot my business. I created new features, new modules, and new offerings and services to help people and communities like Malaysians and across Southeast Asia to survive. So at the end of the day, us startup entrepreneurs are actually survivors.
Anyone else would want to answer that? Or we'll have another set of questions that you would want to ask. CC, you want to ask a question or answer?
Maybe I'll just answer. Yeah, so I think that, and actually there are quite a number of startups that actually got affected badly and actually shut down, right, due to this as well. It's just that a lot of those are not oftenly announced, right, or bigly read about, right? So there is actually quite a number, right? And I think downsizing and everything, let's say for us, we actually went through a whole lot of that, right? Layoff, pay cuts, unpaid leave, and all this kind of thing. We actually see quite a bit of smaller size organization today versus pre-COVID and everything. So, and I think a lot of our clients, which is, let's say, the restaurants and everything, did go down. And I think there will be also a lagging factor, right? Because I think there's the leading factor and lagging factor. So let's say a lot of the restaurants and retailers in the mall, we're going to see the effect in 2021 and later, because a lot of them have a lease that stuck with the malls. So the renewal of lease will be significantly reduced. And I think even within the startup itself, I think they've done many private conversations with different startup founders that a lot of us are not looking to continue the same office space, right? So they're saying, like, for us, we have office space that is usually 2% to 10% occupied, right? So I think a lot of those kind of things that I think we're basically going through. But I think what it has helped us is, I think a lot of the startups also optimize the cost. And I think what shared by other panelists, I think we all come together, support each other. I think it's still not out of the zone, but I think there's still a long way to go. It depends on the sector. Let's say for us, perhaps because we maybe a bit more doomish versus the rest, because our sectors are very badly affected. So I think still looking forward to get beyond the 50% mark, right? So I think for a lot of the sectors, we are still below 50% mark for Malaysia. I think for us particularly, we are mainly helped by Singapore rebounds, right? So I think to put it in.
I think it's a testament to the entrepreneurial capabilities of a lot of Malaysians. I mean, like Lenise, you were saying the stat, right? A lot of businesses close down, but yet they bounce back with something else. I mean, part of that is there's no choice. There are no other jobs available, so people turn to entrepreneurship. But the other opportunity is that it's now way easier for people to become an entrepreneur. The tools are much cheaper, more accessible. There's access to resources to create a business. So I think overall, in the entrepreneurship scheme, COVID has actually been quite interesting. And what I really am looking forward to is what are the great companies that are going to come out of this period in the next 3 to 5 years. It's going to be really interesting to watch that and see how that turns out.
Yep. Jez, you want to ask a question?
Yes. Yeah, thank you so much for joining us in this panel. May I ask our Malaysian counterparts, like having the strong startups from Malaysia, how do you see expanding in Southeast Asia, and what are the things that you are looking for, or like how can we help you expand, for example, here in the Philippines? What are the help that you are looking for?
And you got the checkbook with you, Jess? In case if they ask for monetary support.
Yes, of course. I would. We have more than 33 incubators nationwide, and we are present in 19 cities. And we are the center of all of these ecosystems between government, academe, and industry. We're the neutral grounds where we endorse products and services. So actually, that's what we're doing right now. We are helping incubators nationwide to create their hyper-local e-commerce ecosystem within the city. Because like when people buy from like the major brands, it takes them 5 days, 7 days. While if we encourage the local ecosystem, then at least the services will be delivered immediately today or the following day.
Yep. So any one of you have presence in Philippines or actively looking for CC, you, yep.
Yeah, so actually pre-COVID, we were actually very close to launch in Philippines, but COVID basically stops us. So I think right now we are not thinking about that until pretty much COVID recovers and stabilize our existing market, right? But I think if COVID had not happened, we would have been live in Philippines by now.
Okay, awesome.
Sure.
So another
More
thing,
than happy to help you when you do that.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah.
we are towards the end of this, so we'll try to do a rapid fire. You can give a quick and short answers to it. Which is your most favorite book that you would want to recommend other founders? Linis?
Tuesdays with Maury by Mitch Albom. I've always believed that managing internally has been a huge struggle for a lot of entrepreneurs, especially when you're scaling up. So read the book. It's a short book, very digestible, and hope that it changes your life.
Okay, awesome. Jazz, which is your favorite book?
Actually, I read a lot of articles more than book, but definitely I follow business Harvard reviews.
Okay.
Yeah, I strongly recommend that because they share a lot of experiences or people who have went through all different from all the way from startup journey all the way to managing a conglomerate or even a corporate. So they share a lot of experiences there that you can actually tap on. So yeah.
And Aaron, favorite book or a podcast that you may want to recommend?
Oh, that's a different thing. I don't have a favorite book, but I think this year it's been a great year to read books. I like Ride of a Lifetime by Bob Iger. He tells about his story at Disney. Really good stuff. There's a great book I read called How the Mighty Fall by Jim Collins about how big corporations can be susceptible to failure. That's pretty good as well. A book when I was a kid that really changed my life is The Road Less Traveled by M. Scott Peck. So that kind of gave me the perspective that, do different things, try anything, because you don't know where this will take you.
Brilliant. CC, your favorite book that you want to recommend?
Yeah, I would recommend the podcast Master of Skill by Reid Hoffman.
Yeah.
So I think that pretty much a whole lot, and I think it's basically updated every week. There are more podcasts from there.
Awesome. And Vivi?
I like The Culture Code by Daniel Coyle. Basically, it talks about the dynamics of highly successful groups, whether you're in a circus, whether you're in the army, or whether you're in a startup. There's just this thing about managing successful team members and also leaders. So I think it has been very helpful for me to manage my team.
And entrepreneurship is a very humbling experience. On one side, you raise money, you get awards, but sometimes you have to ask for favors. So which is the most recent favor you had to ask from someone? Why?
Favor. Oh yeah, we had to ask our investors to connect us to someone in the Philippines actually, because we're looking to expand there, and this was before this session. And they have been incredibly helpful because they have an office there, and we were kind of stuck, like how do we do a certain thing because we don't have presence there and we can't fly there. So they were very helpful to get back to us like less than 24 hours with some solutions that we can work on.
Awesome. CC, which is the most recent favor you had to ask from someone?
I think it's during this last 9 months, right? I think been very, very tough for us. So I think maybe even a few people in this fellow panelists, I think they really a great chat, mental support, moral support, and different aspects. I really appreciate that.
Okay. Aaron?
I can't think of a favor I've done in a while. I ask for favors all the time.
He's the godfather.
No,
like
because
people ask him favors.
you would have given favors, but what?
No, but you're right. I think as an entrepreneur, I'm going to go back a couple of years, right? It's full of ups and downs, and you never know how things are going to play out. And I remember that, and this is way back just before the acquisition that we had with AirAsia. We had just come back from the UK from an international pitch competition called Pitch at Palace. We, been in like global stage, been able to present our business. At that point in time, we were just talking about doing an investment from AirAsia, and we were really excited about it. And I got back, it was December, and I guess it's apt for the season. It was the 23rd of December, and I knew I had no money to make payroll that month. And I remember that was a really, really dark moment for me because I was like, oh my God, we had all this great accolades, this great success, things are moving in the right direction, but yet I can't do the most basic thing, like give my staff their salary for the month. And that was really awakening. And I guess at that moment, I went around asking for favors, right? And thankfully I was able to get some cash and pay everyone in time, not even on the month, but we still solved it. But that was an important moment.
Awesome. Linus, which is the most recent favor?
My most recent favor was actually yesterday. I was doing due diligence process on certain VCs, so I had to ask around my fellow startup peers and entrepreneurs, what they think about the specific VCs, because unfortunately we do not currently have a database of investors in Southeast Asia and how we rank them. So that's another potential startup idea to all fellow attendees here who might want to, if you want to create that would be very helpful.
We were just talking about like a little black book for entrepreneurs, and then we can comment about our experiences with certain VCs. It's quite fun. Yeah.
Jez?
Yeah. Great idea.
Jez.
Yeah, I think for me it's definitely connection. I think recent favors also constantly asking for connections, like where else, because we deal a lot with communities, we build communities. So actually from Philippines also we're looking at branching out there, because recently we are closing a really huge project that we're supposed to help the client to reach out to all the youth communities in Southeast Asia. So in our pipeline is actually Indonesia, Philippines, as well as Malaysia itself. So so I might ask the favor right now.
Awesome. So there are a couple of audience questions. Probably one person can answer. There are a couple of one we'll take. Could Zordiana has asked, could you talk about your ideation process, the challenges you face? Did you have any doubts? What did you learn? We could do a separate session on this entire thing, but any anecdote around that, anyone can pick that up. The ideation process, the initial, the challenges you face to validate that idea. Anyone can pick that up. Why you want to pick that up?
Actually, the ideation process we had for Avana was quite natural. It was a problem that both founders were very passionate about. Like for me, why I got into this space was from a user perspective. I'm a shopaholic. I love shopping online. As a user, I discovered there was a lot of challenges. I got to know business owners and the challenges that they were facing, because I used to buy from a lot of my peers and their business was not sustainable. So I actually created a community, got to know them and really understand what is the problem. And then my founder was fixing that problem from a technical point of view. So this is actually how we came together. It would be part passion, part idea in that sense. We just really want to solve this problem, and then we just really empathize with the small business owners, because they are fighting their way against bigger brands, giants out there. So for us, it was very natural and it's a personal passion for the both of us.
Awesome. Jacob has asked this question. Jacob, I'm taking this liberty to tweak your question and make it an open one for everyone. So all of you can give 1 or 2 word answers to it. So we can run through 3-4 such similar ones. Which has been your biggest learning from COVID-19 situation? CC?
I think
1 or 2
resilient.
Yes.
Resilient.
Okay. Jazz?
Cost expenditure.
Good one. Aaron?
Being adaptable.
Linus?
Flexibility.
And why?
Communication.
And just an extension of that, how are you preparing yourself for the next pandemic? Why?
What? This is not over. There's another one coming.
Extension of that. So personally, I'm just waiting for first one to get over. Then I'll at least have some mind space to think about how I'll prepare for the next one. But why?
Definitely hope for the best, but prepare for the worst. Yeah, always have like multiple backup plans.
Okay. CC, any special preparation for the next one?
Yeah, I think we are still in the current one, but I think the way is basically, I think, building business that is sustainable. So I think that's one key part that I think as we're building through, and put more thoughts into how do we become profitable. So I think that's the number one key that we have been building to get there, and it's almost there.
Awesome. And Aaron, you'll be basically teaching that to your cohort, right? How to prepare for the next. So what is that key?
I guess it's the old adage of cash flow is king, right? And the most important thing you can do in any business even profit is not so important as to have good cash flow so that you can keep your business running, keep paying your salaries. So one of the things we teach our companies is to do that, but also to keep it lean and mean, because you never know when you're going to get hit. And I know all of us here probably have this experience. There's nothing more painful than have to tell somebody they have to go. It's a very, very hard conversation to have, and it's not something any of us ever look forward to do. And so sometimes the way to prevent it is just to be very reserved and lean from the start, and that will help you through.
Yeah. And Linus?
Yeah, so Paul Graham wrote a fantastic article about this. It's called Default Dead or Default Alive. And I think like for every startup entrepreneur that wants to start a business, always focus on gearing up and scaling your business to become default alive. Because the longer it is that you're on default dead, then it's like you're gonna go through this whole huge trajectory of what we call slow death. And that's not a fun experience at all.
Yep. And Jess?
Yeah, I think I agree with most of the panelists here. To stay alive, right? I think at this moment, staying alive is already a winning factor. Yeah, first is all definitely stay alive, and followed by innovation. I think innovation right now, it's very important. I think COVID is the best lesson to actually adopt currently, right? Because of COVID, I believe everyone here on the panelists also, we learned a lot of things. Like this is a definitely one point of our life that we have never faced before. So it's like, I'm glad this happened because it really teaches how to stay alive. So, yeah.
And Jess, if everything happens the way you imagine it should be, in that case, what would youths today be?
Yeah, we innovated as well. We rather than student projects right now, because a lot of student events are cancelled. But what we did was we actually worked with the brands on making the student an influencer. Meaning to say that the students actually help all the brands right now to actually share their products and services online, and students actually make extra income from there. So we actually pivoted, we innovated along the way. We also launched new products. Like for example, our new community product is called Fula. We help brands who actually have an app, and we help the clients to aggregate their apps. So there's a lot of things that we can toy with, but definitely also stay lean and stay alive in that sense. Yeah.
And Linus, if everything happens the way you imagine it would be, what would Droppy be in that case?
With or without pandemic.
You imagine without pandemic, with pandemic.
I mean, like at the start of today's session, I was like very hopeful for 2021 until Aaron burst my bubble, right? He's like, optimism, no. Let me get back to reality here. We're still in COVID period. I think realistically with pandemic, well, it essentially is just really figuring out how much more value and services that we can give to our existing users, right? Our current customer base, especially these mom and pop stores, they struggle the most. These guys are the ones that face a huge impact of this COVID period. So whatever that we can to do, whatever products or new features that we can actually create to provide more sustainable growth for them, or at least help them stretch their lifespan throughout this pandemic, it will be very helpful. Like, for example, we just recently announced our partnership with UOB Bank. We are going to be introducing credit term financing. So all our mom and pop stores that procure wholesale products on our platform, they don't need to pay their stock up when they purchase wholesale products. They don't need to pay it upfront. They can pay us back 60 days later, and we become their guarantor. So those are the sort of things that we do to help them survive.
Awesome. Aaron?
So when we started to scale up, we had this vision, right? That we do 5 cohorts, fund 50 companies, and all of that will have at least $100 million company per cohort. And from there, we'll get $1 billion company out of that, right? So if all goes well, that's what we're going to do, right? We want to help the ecosystem by growing these companies. We're very excited where we are. Even though the pandemic has hit, we're hopeful that this will allow us to find great companies, great entrepreneurs, and be able to support these entrepreneurs in their journey. Because we know it's tough. part of the things that we bring, that we think a lot about, is the fact that we're all entrepreneurs or former entrepreneurs or people who have built businesses before. We know it's a difficult journey, and we would like to be able to be that partner with these entrepreneurs on their journey to make it a little bit better as they go through this.
Brilliant. CC?
Yeah. So I think for us, we'll go deeper into the fifth enterprise services. So I think a lot of people on the outside, people think of us as a consumer, then become B2B2C. So I think we're building deeper into B2B play. So I think over this COVID period, we see a lot of big players that wanting to adopt digital. So there are a lot of multi-billion-dollar company, but then they don't have the digital age. So I think that's where we're going in to build, and we'll be launching a new country in early 2021 outside of Southeast Asia. So I think fingers crossed that, and then that one will be in a new model that we are building towards. So that will be interesting to see, and who knows where it will bring us from.
Awesome. And why?
Our plan was to expand regionally this year. Philippines was on the map for us, but because of COVID, I think the restricted travel, so we decided to focus on the countries we have presence in. So Malaysia, Indonesia, but to be honest, I think it was a blessing in disguise. We got to spend more time with our team. We got to grow stronger together, and also to spend more time with our merchants and help them go through this pandemic together.
Awesome. So every time we do this summit, we have some theme with the theme question that we end the calls with, and because sometimes in ending these Zoom calls is very tricky. So we will end on a high. So the moment the last person will answer this, I'll end this call. So we'll end this entire call on a high. So the question is, if you were to describe your entrepreneurial journey in one word, what would that be? Jess?
Crazy.
Okay. So Lennox, you'll be the last. The moment you mention that word, I'll close this call.
Sorry, but just was my word. That was like my word. I was thinking about that too.
Sorry, you gotta find me.
Or you can say it and then the call ends.
I think everybody agree with crazy.
Yeah, has taken up the crazy. CC?
I think just enjoying the journey, exciting maybe.
Okay, brilliant. Why?
Unpredictable.
Okay. Aaron?
Discovery.
Okay.
Self-discovery. Yeah.
Awesome. Lennox, don't say it because I will just do a couple of announcements. Thank you so much, everyone. And thank you so much, Vadhwani Foundation, TIP, Nitro, and all the speakers. Lennox, moment you speak your word, I'll just end this call.
Adventurous.